In this video, I'm going to show the workflow to release an R package to CRAN using this guide that works both for the GitHub workflow and the Git flow workflow. But in this video in particular, I'm going to be using the GitHub workflow, the simplest of the two. So the goal now is going to be working with this fake package and pretend that we want to release the version 0.0.1. There's a couple of notes here. The one here is not relevant to this video because it's about the Git flow workflow, but this one is, and it is that some of the things that I do during this process, I wrote some aliases for to automate the process even more. So you're welcome to click that link and see if any of those aliases works for you. So the repo I'm going to be working with is this one here. It's pretty much empty R package. There is nothing useful in it. It's just for this demonstration. The first thing we need to do is to create a release issue. We are going to run this function, but first let's see this node. So for this function to work, you need to ensure that the origin, your remote origin, points to the source repo and not to your fork. So how I do this, I'm here on my repo and gonna run R. I'm going to now paste that code that I got from the blog post. Use release issue will first ask us which is the version that we need to release. In this case is the one associated to number 3, 0.0.1. So that is the one. And while that thinks, here we are seeing the next step, which is the following. Now we're going to create a new branch or feature branch, but the word feature kind of only makes sense in the context of Git flow workflow, and this is the GitHub workflow. So we're going to use a branch something like prepare v001. So let's use that. Let's create another window in my terminal. So I'm going to do a git check branch, paste that, prepare v001. Here we are now on that branch. If I show you the log, you can see that now, I have this branch that is in sync with master. By the way, this is a toy repo. It has only one commit because it has a tag already associated to that original commit, which is 000, sorry, and now we're working towards 001. Okay, already have a branch ready to go and to start accumulating all the changes that will come from that release issue that we are creating. So in a moment, that release GitHub issue will appear here on my web browser. It looks like it's still working. This is still thinking. So we can wait there for a little bit, but maybe I can start showing you the very first step of that release issue, which I already remember it. So I can just start showing it to you. So the thing that we're gonna do there is, for example, things like add a new CRAN comment file. So we can do that manually, but we can also use a function from the use this package called use CRAN comments, right? And that function will create this file that you're seeing now on screen. It's a file that CRAN needs, and if I close R and show you my staging area, you see that there's a couple of files there that have been modified. One that has been modified, I will ignore, and one that has been added that it doesn't know anything about yet, which is the CRAN comment file. So let's add that to my staging area and then create a commit, something like add CRAN comments, could do. And now if I show you the log again, you can see that now my prepare for release branch is one commit ahead of master. And we will continue doing that for every single item in this checklist. I can check this one out. I could probably do something else. Let's say we want to proofread title and description. Actually, I shouldn't check that yet. Let's do it now. Vim description. And let's add here just demo and the description to demo. So that would be my update or proofread description. Now we have another commit, all being accumulated into this prepare v001 branch. So that's looking good. I can check this one out, and I would continue doing all of this all the way up to the end of the section prepare for release, and that is what the blog post says. So follow the release checklist until the end of the section prepare for release. There's a couple of tweaks that you may want to read that might be useful when you work there. Let's see this other note. So the branch, I said it before that the branch feature branch is also meaningful in the context of Git flow workflow, but not relevant right now. So now we ask ourselves this question. When we finish that, right, we reach the end. Let me close this. So when we reach the end of this checklist and we checked all these items, we ask ourselves, did anything change? Well, in the first pass, the answer is going to be, of course, a yes. Like now, we have just added a file, we proofread description. So what we need to do is then, okay, if we are under yes, then we merge that feature branch, and then we repeat the main steps under the section prepare for release until doing so adds nothing else. So right now, what we need to do is then we are going to merge that pull request, but I don't think we did a pull request yet. This is still local. So what we could do is gh pr create. This could create a pull request on the repo. There I would be accumulating all these changes. I will also be looking for the status of the workflows that I have here in GitHub Actions to see if all the checks pass or not, if there is any problem. So when these checks pass, then I'm going to be merging that pull request into master to make it more ready for release. So let's pretend that this is already finished. I would be here finishing the merge. In the GitHub workflow, I don't need this branch hanging around, so I can go ahead and delete. Here locally, I'm gonna check out master. I can also delete the prepare for release branch. And now let's have a quick look at the situation here. I need to pull master. So that's let's see, git push rejected because remote contains work that you do not have locally. Okay, maybe because I can't do a fast forward, so I do git merge directly. Git fetch, git merge. And there we go. So now, now my master branch is on the top of things. It includes the changes that we did during that prepare for release pull request, and then we are ready to start a new iteration through this section. Usually, the first section, the first release section, I couldn't pass through this many times. Maybe you want to proofread tighten the description and whatever you want. You feel like if you don't feel comfortable with something that you want to go over that again, feel free to do it. But mostly, if I do a second pass just before I submit, I would be walking mostly through this section here, the prepare for release. And rarely I rerun these two last functions because they are quite time consuming. And if I did get a clean output of RCMD check through these two in a previous pass, then I usually feel comfortable just running this one here, which is less time consuming, and it doesn't use any external service. It doesn't use resources from CRAN or resources from RHub. So that's the one that I will be running. But there is a point where running these functions over and over again won't add any commit, meaning that you would be in this situation where here on master you run those commands and those functions, and when you do a git status, there's you will have a clean staging area, meaning that your branch is ready to release. That is the answer no in this blog. So when you did another pass through the prepare for release section and nothing has changed, then the answer to this question is no. And then what you could do is, if you created, maybe this I should kind of edit from the post, if you created a branch, something like prepare v001, and you're standing there, then you can delete it and then create a new one called something more evocative, something like release branch v001. The name of the branch is not really important for the content, but yes, for the semantics of it. So people might be confused if they see something that that sounds like prepare, but you're actually submitting that to CRAN. So at this point, I would do a branch something like submit v001. That would be a good name for this branch. Just to make sure it is, right now as it is master, but we're going to be doing some changes right now. So the next thing we need to do, let's see what's this note here about. Again, well, like mentioning that the release branch has only a special meaning in the context of the Git flow workflow, but not in the context of GitHub workflow. So we go ahead and do that. Now we increment the version number to a release number. See that if I do bad description, you can see that we are still using an ending 9000 to flag that this package is in development. But if we run use version, then what we get is the option to choose which version we want. Do we want to increment the major component, minor, or patch? In this case, I'm going to do a patch, and I'm going to agree to create a commit with that change. So now if I show you what changed before with a git show, then you can see that now the version number has updated. So yes, what we have done this step here, and now we can submit a pull request based on master and confirm that the workflows on GitHub Actions pass cleanly. So GHPR create. I'm using here the GitHub workflow, so master is always my default branch, so I don't need to do anything special there. Let's submit. We're gonna get the URL of that PR, so let's go ahead and look at it. And we would verify that this checks pass cleanly. In the meantime, if you want, you can create, you can run this function. This won't actually submit to CRAN as the name suggests. You will kind of upload it, but then CRAN will send you an email that you need to verify your submission. So if you don't accept, that submission, then it won't actually be submitted. So at this stage, you could probably just run it and then go to your email and accept the submission. So I'm not gonna do that because this is just a toy package and I don't really want to submit it. But what I will do is I'll create this file here for demonstration, because once you run that function, the staging area will have this new file, CRAN release. I don't particularly use it, and in this workflow that I wrote this blog about, I'm just reminding myself to delete that file, so that's what I do. Let's just remove CRAN release. So now my staging area is clean. The next step is, well, if you are actually submitting this to CRAN, it would be to wait for this to go green and then go to your email and accept the submission. But once you do that, CRAN will potentially take a while, right, to assess your package and to come back to you. But regardless of the outcome of CRAN, in this workflow, what I just do is I create what I would call an internal release. So I create a GitHub release, which is basically a tag on the branch master. So for that, let's walk through this section. And the first thing you need to do is to merge the release branch into master. So this one here, assuming that this is already green, I would just merge this pull request into master. You can delete it from here. You can always restore it if you want it. I don't leave branches hanging around, particularly when I'm using the GitHub workflow. So we merged that. Here on master, we can just do a git pull and delete the submit branch locally too. So now the world looks something like this, where in the previous commit we incremented the version number to a release number, and now we merged the pull request that submitted the package to CRAN. So everything is kind of cool up to date. So now what we need to do is use GitHub Release. And the note there again is to make sure that your origin points to the source repo and not to your fork. Otherwise, that function won't quite work. Here it looks as if I have run that twice, but I didn't. Okay, so we use GitHub Release. Opens the releases page on GitHub, but I wanted to show you this first. We are asked to go and edit the draft and then click on publish release. So that's what we need to do. So on this page that opened automatically, I click here on edit the draft, scroll down, find publish release, click there, and we're done. So I can close that, close this one too, close this one too, and we go to the blog post again. So we did this step here. Actually, I could do a git fetch as well here to show what happened. Let's pull git fetch. I was expecting here to see a new tag. So let's see what happens here. Did we actually do that release? It looks like it's in a draft. Okay, so issue is that I ran this demo before, so we see a couple of releases from earlier. So let's remove that to keep things clean. So I think this is 32 minutes ago, so it's not something that we did just now. Let me clean things up. Sorry that I'm doing this in front of your eyes, but I need to just clean things up a little bit so we see exactly what we do, what are the artifacts of what we actually do. So if I run this again, use GitHub Release. Let's see if this, we can do that again. Using current head. I wanted to show you, so we go here, we edit the draft, scroll down, publish the release, and now the release is there. So the reason I did this again is because I wanted to show that once we fetch the metadata from GitHub, I was expecting to see a tag, the V001, that I don't see quite here. So I'm still a little puzzled, but well, life goes on. I think, let me see in the releases section if I can find out why. It looks as if my remote was a bit confused with all these releases that were before and all these tags that were before. The tag does exist, but when I do a git fetch, it seems to not bring that tag locally. So if I do a git tag, well, actually git tag does show v001 git tag, but it doesn't appear in my log here. Again, this is very likely an artifact of me doing this a few times in other iterations of this same video. So pretend that we do have, so basically what I expected here is the tag on this commit. Yeah, so this commit where we merged the latest pull request, that is where I would expect a tag, but the tag, look, it's appearing here. Okay, because that tag was done 35 minutes ago, so it's overlapping with a tag that I forgot to remove before I started this video. Let's see if I can fix that. So git tag, let's delete 001 locally, and now git fetch. Let's see if that pulls anything new. It looks like it does now. Okay, there you go. So now that I removed that local tag that was hanging around from the previous iteration of this video, now git fetch did bring that tag v001. It didn't want to do it apparently because it could have kind of conflicted with the local one. It is weird though that I didn't get an error message saying so. It just silently didn't do it. But anyway, here we are. This is the state of the world as I expected it, with the master branch now tagged with v001, and our release, happily on our internal release happily on the releases section. If I go to the main repo, you would see that release as the latest one over here. Well, let's go back to the blog. This section only applies if you're using Git Flow workflow. Right now, the next step is to increment the dev version, and I think it's fine to do it directly on master because this is an automatic step. This function does it for us. It touches no production code. We kind of know what we're doing. So let's see, the change was now to add that 9000 ending to tag this as an in development package. So now I would just push with no pull request or no review. It's just a very much a formality, but needs to be done. All right, so we reached the end of the blog. So now we can continue the development, branching off master, creating new pull requests, and if CRAN accepts the submission, what will happen is simply that the internal GitHub release that we created will have a corresponding release on CRAN with exact same number, pointing to the exact same commit with the same changes. But if CRAN rejects the submission, then there's no problem. We still have an internal release that signals that from our perspective, the package was in a fairly good state. It just won't be on CRAN. And then, we would learn reasons why CRAN rejected it and then work towards another release. And that new release could not be called v001, even if there isn't a 001 on CRAN. You could still do something like 002 because they could refer to different repositories, different points in the history of that repository, and using the same version for two different points in the history of the repo is a bad idea. So, okay, that's then what we just did. A little summary is, we have walked through these blog posts that helps us publish a package on CRAN to CRAN, and today in this particular video I did it using the GitHub workflow. Thank you.